Please subscribe and ring the bell to never miss an update. It's a celebration today on Lady Mary Beth. You have helped me reach 10,000 subscribers, and as promised, we have giveaways, Q&A, and more. Join me. A huge thanks to you for your support and encouragement and helping me to reach this all-important milestone of 10,000 subscribers. Can't wait to celebrate with you today. If you haven't yet subscribed, please hit that subscribe button so that you could win one of these fabulous prizes I will debut in just a bit. And today we will have some answers to viewer questions, my favorite viewer comments, along with some other fun stuff. So let's get started. As you've seen at the beginning of this video, I have a new logo. It was designed by Lauren Brenner. She and her mother are viewers and watched the channel in the early days. And she is a graphic artist, award-winning designer, freelancer, and creative consultant based in Florida. And she contacted me and asked if she could possibly help with my logo. And you will see that it features a pineapple, which is the symbol of hospitality, and that represents just about everything that I love. And the classic blue is very soothing and my favorite color. And the addition of the honey gold, it sort of matches my hair, she thought. And then also it's a nice complement to the classic blue, and I just love it. And you will see this in future branding for my channel. So go check out Lauren Brenner by Design. I will put a link in the description below. I love to hear from viewers, and there are many ways you can connect with me. Of course, you could comment on the videos, which I always respond to, and then you could find me on social media, Facebook and Instagram, and I always link that in my video description so you can find me easily. And there is a hidden gem on Facebook. We have a group called Lady Mary Beth's Table. And it's a wonderful community where we encourage and inspire one another with table settings and thrifted finds, and we have a lot of fun. So please join us there at Lady Mary Beth's Table. And then of course you could private message me through Instagram or Facebook. And I often have viewers that will reach out and ask a question about maybe a lamp or a goblet that they have purchased. Is it Waterford? Can you identify the pattern? And I try to help when I can. And I did have one viewer reach out through private messaging on Facebook, and he wrote a song for me about the channel, and it's clear that he has watched just about every episode. He nailed it. It's really worth a listen, and I will link that in the video description below. And of course, if you want to reach out to me the old-fashioned way, I do have a P.O. box. It is listed in the About section of my channel page, so please drop me a note. I always enjoy hearing from you. You have questions and I have answers. Many of you responded to a post on the community page, and you have some really great questions. First, I think I'll pour myself some tea from my favorite teacup from Royal Chelsea. And this is a Wedgwood Crown Gold teapot. Isn't it beautiful? That's from my bridal registry. And I complement that with a wild strawberry pattern, also from Wedgwood. Anne Henry writes, as the granddaughter of an English teacher, I do appreciate your excellent grammar. What is your favorite thrifted find? Well, Anne, I have to share with you that I am also the granddaughter of an English teacher. My grandmother taught school for 32 years. And my favorite thrifted find, that's really tough, but I would have to say the Waterford Crystal Master Cutter Footed Pedestal Bowl. I featured that behind me on the server for the holiday home tour, and it is now featured in my living room in the built-in under the light, catching all those beautiful Waterford crystal cuts. I just love that piece. And Tanya asks, what is your favorite German meal? That's really hard, but I will tell you my go-to if I'm out at a restaurant, especially for lunch, would be Wiener Schnitzel mit Pommes und Salat, which is just basically a breaded cutlet with fries and salad, or maybe German potatoes. We do eat more French-inspired food in my husband's area. And Michelle asks, where do you store seasonal items? Mostly in bins in my attic and even in my garage. And I do have a small storage unit that we acquired for my college-age kid when she was between the dorm and the apartment to house her furniture for the summer, and I do have some things there in storage. Connie asks, who is your camera person? My husband Christoph is behind the camera, and he also does editing for the channel. And when I'm on location, my friend Lydia usually comes along and holds the camera so that I can share talking points with you and show you around. Otherwise, I film on location. And my friend Michelle has joined me before. When I'm in Nashville, my stepmother Annie is behind the camera, and I couldn't do it without my friends and family. Of course, we always go to a nice lunch afterwards. And what do you do for rest and relaxation? Connie asks. Well, an occasional spa day. I enjoy lunch with my friends. And of course, I like to travel. And I would say on a daily basis, it's usually Netflix and BritBox. BritBox I treated myself to for Christmas, and that is an app where you can watch British documentaries, mysteries like Agatha Christie, Poirot, which is my favorite, and comedies as well. And Leonie Taylor asks, what is your favorite china pattern? I know you love blue and white, but which pattern? And you know, that's also a tough one, but I thought this would be a great opportunity to share with you a pattern that I have not debuted before. And this is from Villeroy & Boch. I first saw this in Mettlach, Germany. This is the Casa Azul Ornato, and this is the Piccolo. Within the same pattern, they have sort of a switch, which Villeroy & Boch made popular, where you have similar designs that coordinate. And when I first saw this, I told my mother-in-law, I'm in love. And of course I had to add this pattern to my collection. Really like the Casa Azul, but of course I like the Burgenland too, which is what I use every day. And Leonie also asks, are your parents living in the US or Europe? My mother-in-law lives in Germany, where my husband is from, and my father and stepmother live in Franklin, Tennessee. My mother sadly passed away 14 years ago while she was traveling in South Korea, and I had to bring her home, and she's no longer with us, sadly, but she inspires me every day. And Trisha asks, how often do you travel to Germany? Is most of your time spent in the US? And Trisha, I travel to Germany at least once a year. I'm trying to make it at least twice a year for longer periods of time. But yes, most of my time is spent in the US. And now that my girls are in college, I think I will have a little bit more flexibility. And of course I could film overseas too. So looking forward to more travel. And Lily mentions, you were very well spoken. English is not my native tongue. Would appreciate advice on how to polish the language. And Lily, I would say immersion. That's how I learned German. Of course, living in Texas, we have exposure to Mexico, and I learned Spanish in school, but German was not something that I grew up with. My family is of English ancestry. And spending summers, Christmas vacations in Germany, and eventually going to college in Heidelberg, Germany, that's how I learned the language. I didn't need a formal instruction. I simply lived amongst the people and picked up the language. So Lily, I hope that you can travel to an English-speaking country where you can have some of that immersion experience. And Judy asks, do you still work, and where is your favorite workplace? Yes, I still work. Besides the channel, I have a corporate gift business that I've had since 1998. I help companies to choose promotional items, giveaways for trade shows, for their clients, and also holiday gifts, board member gifts, that sort of thing. I have wholesale accounts with the major tabletop manufacturers like Waterford Crystal, Baccarat, Mariposa, Wilton Armitel, and very much still in that industry. My favorite job of all time was Waterford Crystal. I feel like I have the Waterford logo here. It's just invisible, and I'm forever a Seahorse sister. Loved my job and my years at Waterford Crystal, traveling with VIPs, with Miss America. It was just the adventure of a lifetime. And this viewer has a different type of name. I'm reading it to you. Stop telling me to like, comment, share, subscribe. That is the viewer's name. Could you share some German recipes? I know you love tea, but do you enjoy wine or cocktails or a good German beer? I would love to share German recipes with you. Let me know if that's something you really want to see, if many of you out there are interested. I know in the past when I have featured some scones or my pound cake, of course, that was early on in the channel, it's hard to gauge that, but it just didn't seem to get the reception. If more of you would like to see German recipes, I'd be happy to present that. I did feature German cake and coffee. I didn't share the recipes, but I definitely baked the cakes and shared them with you in that way. And Michelle asked earlier, what is something you want to accomplish in 2022, which I will cover as well. Lucky Texans, love the name. Do you have a sentimental collection piece passed down? I do have my grandmother's sterling flatware. I have some jewelry items, but one thing that comes to mind that is one of the older items that I have is a powder box from my great aunt, Molly. Her name was Mary Alice. They called her Molly. She was a maiden aunt, meaning she never married. And my grandmother grew up in the home with her. And this looks like American Brilliant. And it's a sterling top with a rose pattern and her monogram. And she was also an artist, and my aunt has many of her paintings of roses. So this is very special. Of course, I never knew her, but I'm privileged to have this piece. And I also do have a sterling silver collection of brushes and that sort of thing that this goes very well with. And there's a really great comment that I want to share with you, but first I think I need to have a sip of tea. All right, friends, here is a wonderful and interesting comment from Denise Love. Denise writes, my 40-plus-year-old daughter told me that no one cares about fancy china anymore, Mom. It doesn't fit my lifestyle. When I recovered from the palpitations and horror, I asked her, what about your beautiful Noritake china and crystal? She said she wanted to get rid of it. What have I begotten? Is it true? Tell me we're not dinosaurs. Will it come back? I for sure do not want to live in a world without my ruby red depression glass and my old English roses china. My child was raised better than this, but I can't account for errant paternal genes. Well, Denise, I think that is one thing that really drives me with this channel, is that I want to make that popular again. I think that this generation that wants to reduce, reuse, and embrace thrifting would definitely enjoy having some of these treasures from the past. And of course, as you mentioned, your daughter would normally come into these heirlooms at some point. I feel that by then she would embrace them. So let's all continue to work together to set beautiful tables and have our children, whether they're grown or still growing up, have them appreciate that and want to continue this tradition in their homes. And I think there is hope for the future, and we are not dinosaurs. So let's continue to create this wave together and make it popular again. Belinda, one of my favorite viewers, asks, do you have just the one child, and does she like glassware as much as you? I am actually blessed with two daughters. They are both in college, and yes, they do have an appreciation for the finer things because they've grown up with it. My older daughter already has two patterns that we have started for her, not including the dishes she uses in her college apartment. And my younger daughter occasionally rolls her eyes, but she appreciates the finer things, and both girls enjoyed inviting friends for tea when they were in junior high and high school, and they were always part of the china selection and the table setting, and they have great appreciation for it. So I think there is definitely hope for the next generation. Sunshine 57. Is the culture different in Germany? Do they have thrift stores? That would be a whole nother episode. Yes, it is different in Germany. And I really didn't know much about thrift stores there until last visit. I discovered one and I did feature that. So you may want to look at the German thrifting. There are some great things that we found there. So yes, lots to share there. And these are some of the questions from the community page. It's time for giveaways. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. I will be pulling comments from viewers who happen to subscribe. And if you haven't yet, go down and hit that subscribe button and join our channel. And I will draw names from each of you who comments on the video. And all you have to do is tell me your favorite segment so far in the channel. It could be the holiday home tour, it could be the first one, which was afternoon tea. It could be anything in between. Just let me know one of your favorite segments, or you could tell me 2 or 3 if you like, and then I will put your name in a drawing. Let me show you the prizes. From Wedgwood, we have the Butterfly Bloom teacup and saucer and their signature hat box. You'll see it has a fluted design, beautiful pattern with a modern twist. Just love this. And I will add my favorite Harney & Sons Paris tea so that you can enjoy that for an afternoon or breakfast. And another item I'm offering is the silver-plated Victorian tart server. It is a really neat piece. This is my personal one. I have a new one that I'll give you. I use it all the time for mini quiches, brownies, scones, and this was the party favor for my 38th birthday. I tied a ribbon around that, and the signature party colors at that time was green and pink. And I placed them around a vintage sandwich tray, and all the guests picked one up as they left the party. And from Mariposa, I have a filigree trivet. Isn't that a beautiful design? For storage, you could actually prop it up against the backsplash in your kitchen, use it on your table for anything hot that comes out of the oven, or even a teapot you could place on top of it if you don't want to get your table scorched, if you have a hot tea that you're serving. And all these are from my personal gift closet. These are items that I keep on hand to gift to friends or have for hostess gifts and that sort of thing. And I wanted to share these with you. So make sure you comment on the video of your favorite segment so far in the channel and be a subscriber. You've asked some great questions on Instagram, and mostly food_1. That is Chrissy from the UK. I've enjoyed getting to know her. She's a professional food writer and has many other talents and creates recipes professionally. And I hope to have tea with her in London at some point. And Chrissy would love to hear about our 4-legged family members, their names and ages. Well, Chrissy, I wouldn't begin to get the ages exactly right, but I will tell you their names and introduce them and pop up some photos. Ginger, you have probably seen in a couple of segments, including the first one, the afternoon tea, and the recent holiday home tour. And you may have had a glimpse as well of the twins, Blitz and Poppy. They are the youngest cats. They're 2 years old. As I opened the door to share our home decor with you, they were nearby. And then we have Lola, who is absolutely gorgeous. And she's a bit older, has some mobility issues. And then we have Bo. We call him Beanie. And I want to feature him in a future episode on Thrifted Finds, and you'll understand why later. And we're also watching our daughter's cat right now. Her name is Rita. And we obviously have our hands full with all the kittens and cats. And I definitely will share some photos of them with you. And Chrissy also asks about my favorite find from last year. And yes, probably that Waterford Crystal pedestal bowl from Still Good Consignments. Flip Flop Gardener writes, totally running out of room, would love to hear your storage solutions. Well, I would say for holiday items, you probably want to maybe consider an off-site storage because you're only pulling those out once a year. And for everyday items or collections of dishes, you could certainly have shelves in your garage and keep them in bins and utilize the flat areas of your home that are mostly unseen, such as under beds and couches. That's a great storage solution for flat items like trays that would normally take up space. And yeah, I think we kind of all have that issue. And Kimberly from Gorge Vintage writes, what is your favorite piece in your Waterford collection? And what piece do you not have that you would like to own someday? Well, Kimberly, I think the Master Cutter pieces are probably my favorite. My bosses at Waterford Crystal gifted me with a beautiful Master Cutter vase for my wedding. And I would say that collection, and you will see it in the Waterford Crystal video, that's near and dear to me. And as far as what piece would I like to own someday, I love that Waterford punch bowl that Jorge Perez had at the antique shop. And you know, I probably don't really know what piece I want until I walk in and see it and think, wow, I've been looking for this my whole life and just didn't know it. Pelican's Pearl writes, would you do a beautiful breakfast video showing how you incorporate china and crystal in your everyday life? And yes, I have often thought about that, and I'm so glad that you mentioned it because I plan to do that. And yes, I do utilize these things every day with pleasure. And Cheryl asks, do you use your china and crystal every day? Absolutely, no question. And maybe I don't have a table full of china, crystal, silver for every meal, but you will see some elements, whether it's a sterling serving piece or maybe a crystal pitcher. There's always something that I pull that's close at hand that is used in our serving. And do you have tips on how to store when not in use? You know, again, I would rotate and I would stay organized and just utilize some areas of your home, even if it's a guest closet, areas that you mostly would forget about. And Cheryl is also interested in learning about various Waterford patterns and distinguishing characteristics of Waterford crystal. And Cheryl, I would invite you to watch the Waterford crystal episode where I share tips and feature a lot of my collection. And one of my favorite comments on the Instagram post is from Cameron. And he writes, my friends and I are all in our 20s and absolutely adore your videos. We're just wondering what your most valuable possession is, whether it be in rarity or money value. And Cameron, you know, I wasn't going to debut this yet. I will feature it in a future episode, and I will simply just mention it to you today. I actually have John F. Kennedy's teacup that he used on Air Force One, and there's a great story behind that, and it is definitely valuable. It's something that I had for years and didn't even understand what I owned, and can't wait to bring that to you. So the John F. Kennedy teacup is probably my rarest find. And the Waterford Crystal Kennedy bowl that I've often mentioned right along with it, in fact, I have them displayed in the same area of my home, is also very precious to me. And I appreciate you writing that, Cameron. I love that you and your friends enjoy the videos, and I hope to meet you someday. And then there are those videos that get the most views. And first of all, the Bluebird Circle you probably are familiar with. I've filmed there quite a few times. That has been my most successful video. And I love to shop with a purpose, and this is the perfect place for that. All proceeds benefit the pediatric neurology research at Texas Children's Hospital. And the Bluebird Circle is just incredible. You can get anything from fashion to Waterford crystal, tabletop furnishings, fine antiques, and it's a great shopping experience. And I sure love the Bluebird Circle, and I'm glad you do as well. And another one that has been successful is an estate sale in Brentwood, Tennessee. This one was truly over the top. And I really think that that family perhaps had a party rental business for the Nashville country music stars and the music business, because it clearly just seemed a bit over the top. And of course, I have a lot too, and I'm used to that. But I saw a few labels on things that made me realize that, okay, maybe this is not just a private collection. And I had some viewer comments on that too, that they couldn't believe someone had so much, but I think that explains it. And estate sales are always fun, and this one was definitely impressive in Brentwood, Tennessee. And then at number 3 is the Triple Thrift. This is one that I featured last summer, and I started out in North Houston at the Conroe area, and I just randomly hit a Goodwill, a fabulous antique shop, and a consignment shop. And the neatest part was at the antique shop, which was the second stop of that Triple Thrift, I came across a Waterford crystal punch bowl. It was actually in a box, and I recognized the box design, the shipping box, from my days at Waterford, and I asked permission to pull it out, admire it, and it actually belongs to someone that I worked with at Waterford Crystal, George Perez, and you would know him as Jorge Perez, who is a QVC star and has his own line of clothing and home goods, and really such a treat to find one of George Perez's pieces, a Waterford Crystal punch bowl. And those were the most popular videos so far. Not every segment that I produce can be number 1, but there are 3 that stand out in my mind that I think are really pretty good and worth a second look. One is the patriotic tablescape. And I realize that I have viewers all over the world, even as far as Tasmania, and not everyone is all about the red, white, and blue. the American pride. I happen to be a daughter of the American Revolution, but those colors actually will work well with other summer settings. It doesn't have to be about patriotic. And then of course, if you're French, then those colors work well for you too. And in the patriotic table setting, I actually do a speed setting so that you can see how I approach the table and add design elements very quickly without wasting your time. And I think it's a lot of fun. So the patriotic tablescape is definitely worth a look. And another one that I personally enjoyed is the tropical table setting. And I have touches of green and gold. It's got kind of that soothing island vibe. It's quite a lot of fun, and I even included some pineapples there, which you know is all about hospitality. And for some reason, it just didn't get a lot of attention. So maybe you can take a look at that tropical table setting. And then another one that I happen to really like and put a lot of love into is style your table. So many of us think that you only can set a pretty table if you have guests for dinner, but I think you can actually set a beautiful look using your personality and style and thrifted finds. It doesn't have to be about serving a meal. And in that episode, you see a lot of the items that are featured behind me that were actually on my table. I was trying to encourage viewers to get away from the traditional silk arrangement with a candle on either side. As pretty as that can be, I think it doesn't really show your style as much, and I incorporated a lot of these elements, and many of which were thrifted. So I encourage you to take a look at Style Your Table. A viewer has asked what goals I have for 2022, and that's a great question. I think we all need goals, and for me, of course, it is growing the channel. And I could really use your help if you could share this with your friends and family, maybe even give it a share on Facebook and build our community, because ultimately I would like to make tabletop and thrifted finds popular again. And I think together we could start that wave. And I also want to help you identify items that you find at charity resales or Goodwill on the secondary market. And I hope to bring you more episodes to help you to identify these items. And I love hearing from viewers who have already found some treasures through the channel and tips that they have learned. And I also want everyone to embrace the heirlooms that will someday come into your life. And that is part of my focus on this channel in reaching more people so that we will be ready to appreciate these items and incorporate them into our homes and our tables. And the ultimate goal is to have a warehouse like Martha Stewart. I know that sounds silly, but my new friend, Theodore Leaf, who is a celebrity lifestyle expert. He's been on lots of TV shows. He interviewed me for a podcast last year. I'll put a link to that in the video description. Theodore Leaf and I have often talked about how we want to have a warehouse for all of our china, crystal, silver, and decorative items. He's actually toured Martha's warehouse in Manhattan, and wouldn't that be the dream? So with your help, hopefully we can grow this channel and I can bring you more episodes and we can connect. With the new year, I am also focusing on new features to bring you. And I'm definitely open to ideas if you want to drop me a note below and just let me know something that you would like to see that maybe I haven't featured yet. And I'm also mindful of viewer requests. I do get a lot of comments about identifying crystal. And it's not necessarily asking which Waterford pattern is this, although I do get a lot of that on social media. It's more of when you're out in the wild, as I call it, being at a charity resale, Goodwill, what have you, and you find a piece of you think might be crystal, but is it glass? Is it crystal? Is it European? Is it Irish? And I would like to bring you some examples and how to identify crystal when you're out shopping or maybe even looking online. And I do have an extensive vintage cake stand collection, many of which were used at my wedding as centerpieces, and I did share one of those in my silver anniversary episode. And that's something I'd like to bring to you. And then I would like to visit a local silver purveyor and talk with them about the history of some of these pieces and how to care for silver, and just to show you some really neat silver flatware and hollowware patterns. That's been on my mind as well. And then I do have a contact of a company that shows us how to repurpose broken china. And I would like to visit with them and show you how they turn that into something wonderful. And another thought I had is maybe going back to one of the small towns in Texas where I grew up, and that might be a weekend trip, and then I can showcase some of the antique shops there and show you an old downtown and a beautiful courthouse in a small Texas town. I think that would be really interesting. Let me know what you think about that, and I would love to bring you some interesting episodes. And one viewer did pose a question asking if I would consider featuring a breakfast table and how I incorporate the china and the crystal. And that's actually been on my mind to share with you. So I will definitely feature a breakfast segment coming up and show you how we eat at our oval breakfast table, and just maybe a nice weekend breakfast or brunch. So those are some ideas that I have for the channel. And again, feel free to share your thoughts on that. Well, so far on the channel, I've filmed about 125 episodes. And of course, I have my favorites. That doesn't mean that they were always the most viewed, but I wanted to share some of those with you and explain why I enjoyed them so much. Oftentimes, I put lots of love into it, or perhaps I've added onto the collection to create a story to share with you. Maybe I've done some research to bring you some historical facts. And one that stands out is the Royal Collection. That was really a lot of fun, and I didn't really understand that I had so many pieces that I could bring together. I did go on the secondary market and added a few more to complete the story to cover all of the monarchs in the last so many decades and centuries. And one of my favorite finds from that episode was the brooch that was commemorating Queen Victoria's Jubilee. And that was really special to be able to find that on Etsy. And that Etsy seller actually got it on shopgoodwill.com, which really is full circle for my channel. That was a fun episode. Another was the chinoiserie. That's my new favorite design element, and I acquired so many pieces in a short time, primarily because I was wanting to feature that for my 50th birthday celebration, which I did, and I added pops of pink. But in the chinoiserie video, I actually show you how you can incorporate that into a table setting, and I show you how to acquire these items affordably. So those videos were somewhat related, and I really enjoyed that. Another one that was a little bit further back in the channel is Art of the Table. And that was actually one of the busiest episodes that we filmed because we had the foyer lined with tables and all different place settings and linens and everything. It was just absolutely overwhelming, but I enjoyed that. And that's where I showed you how to use one pattern, which for me was the old British castle from Johnson Brothers that's owned by Wedgwood now. And I used that dinner plate and or bowl to incorporate and add to other table elements and patterns to show you how to use it for all seasons and different looks. The Art of the Table was definitely a very all-encompassing video that took quite a while to film, but I'm really happy with that, and I hope that you take a look at that. And another one is the teapots. That's one that just was also crazy. We had teapots everywhere. I even borrowed some from a friend, and the filming took quite a while because we wanted to show you the back stamps and all of the important information on those teapots, along with the history of the companies. And I think my family had dinner about 10:30 that night. We had to go to Whataburger and grab something because it was just a very busy day of filming. I always enjoy reading your comments, and I try to be responsive. And some of these just really stick with me. And there's some funny ones, very appropriate ones, and one that actually kind of surprised me. And from the video Repurposed Finds, where I take vintage items and show you multiple uses, who else is searching for a bonbon spoon after watching this? I did feature my Gorham Strasbourg bonbon spoon, and it is cute. And I feel like I'm in school. Well, I hope that means you're learning something, so that wouldn't be all bad, right? And the German coffee and cake video, you have given me a desire to bring out, wash, and dust off my special pieces to celebrate with my friends. I've called an old friend yesterday, and she's coming over on Tuesday. Well, isn't that great that we're bringing people together with all of our finery? I love that. Socializing is so important and connecting with people. I'm glad that my channel could help with that. And from the top 10 garage sale hauls, I love your yard sale deals, girl. Oh, I love, love, love your finds. Well, thank you. I'm glad. My daughter's enjoying most of these in her college apartment right now. And the estate sale finds video, I found this same round cake stand for 50 cents. It's a Fostoria American, it sells for about $250. But this viewer found the same one for 50 cents and I paid $20 and I thought I had the deal of the century. Thanks, Colin. I think you win. That is an amazing deal. And someone else watched the expert tips on Shop Goodwill and writes, I am having a problem. You are so interesting. In each video, I learned something. My problem is that I now have to watch all of your past videos like a compulsive Netflix viewer. Well, I can relate. I do a lot of Netflix as well. But that's really wonderful. I'm glad that she is looking at some of the older videos. And remember that there's a whole library of videos out there on my channel. You can always look back and maybe have a virtual shopping day with me or learn about chinoiserie. And on the teapot segment, where I had a table full of teapots and I shared the history of the manufacturers, it was really a great segment. Someone wrote just a very simple and very appropriate comment. Girl, that's a lot of teapots. I absolutely agree. I had no idea I had so many till I pulled them together. And on a visit to the Antique Gallery in North Houston, Spring, Texas, someone writes, Waterford Crystal should give you some money every time you say it in your show. You are a walking free publicity for them. Well, I love Waterford. You know, it's near and dear to my heart. And I agree with you. I think that they should reach out to me and I would love to work with them. That's actually one of my dreams. When I was with Waterford Crystal, Jean Moses was our national spokesperson. I traveled with her sometimes and went to resorts with her as well. And I would love to speak on behalf of Waterford and work with the brides. So yeah, if you want to reach out to Waterford Crystal, absolutely let them know that Lady Mary Beth features them and gives them lots of free press. So work on that for me, please. And here's a comment that I'll end with that is, I think, very telling, and that we are sharing some great information out there, but I didn't strike the right chord with this particular viewer. On the Goodwill online best tips, which you know is where you find all of your Goodwill finds that are on the internet. You don't have to go into a store. She writes, I will never understand these tutorials. Why on earth are you telling the world your strategy? Jesus Christ, keep some things to yourself. Her words, not mine. There are other people out here doing the same thing, and now the world knows. And this is why we have a million competitors bidding. Nothing is sacred, not even a hustle. Well, I hope that she learned some tips when she watched that video, even though she's not happy that I shared this with all of you. And I do hear from quite a few viewers on social media reach out to me and share their finds from the Goodwill online shopping. So I hope that you do learn a lot of tips from the channel and that you can share that with your friends and family and encourage them to join our community. And I'm glad to share some of my favorite comments with you. So glad you joined me today for this celebration. I appreciate each and every one of you for watching the channel and subscribing and being part of this community. And I encourage you to share Lady Mary Beth with your family and friends so that we can continue to build on this love of thrifting and tablescapes and just making every day more beautiful. Thanks again for joining Lady Mary Beth. Elevate your everyday with thrifting and tablescapes.